Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Hugo Correa. In this case, what we're doing is we're working in an apartment that was purchased to fix and sell, right? So the part that we're dealing with right now will be the ceilings. Overall, everything, and I'm trying to make a lot of videos about the process. But in this case, I want to talk about the ceilings. The ceilings had an acoustic material, right? Surface. And this acoustic ceiling was, you can spray it on popcorn type of thing that is applied and left over there, but sometimes it's not as appealing as having a nice straight roof. So the process consists in removing as much as possible from the original material without damaging the drywall in this case. This is possible to be done also in concrete ceilings as well. But in this case, that acoustic ceiling has to be removed, and there are a few things that you need to consider when you're doing that. The first one is you want to remove as much as possible, as much of the texture as possible. I have some videos where I show how to remove that acoustic ceiling, so I encourage you to go back in my playlist and take a look at those. But overall, you want to kind of moist everything. You want to remove it with some special tools so nothing falls on the floor as much as normal. Then you want to clean the entire area. So there are a few things that you need to consider. Let's say you have a really hard to remove ceiling, acoustic ceiling, a popcorn ceiling, because somebody applied a lot of paint and it's kind of semi-gloss, whatever. So what you want to do is you want to remove as much as possible, right? Clean the area as much as possible and apply some primer. Then you're able to add your new drywall compound or your compounds on the ceiling. If you have, let's say, concrete that is not finished, it's unfinished because you're living in a particular place, you want to add that thing. So you may want to add a concrete bonding cement. It's like a whitish liquid in viscosity. The viscosity is kind of creamier type of thing. So you want to add that before you put your drywall compound. And overall, in this case, you have drywall that was finished. So what we want to do is you want to remove as much of the material as possible. You want to clean it really well, and because there's nothing else on it, we want to make sure that we clean it with sponges, and so we can actually add compound like if it was brand new drywall. A lot of people may want to put a lot of primer, and it's up to you. I find that when your drywall is in a decent condition, you just need to clean it and make sure that it's not dust around, so you can apply your drywall compound. So that's what we're going to do right now, and I'm going to show you the steps that I normally take to do that part. The tools that I'm going to use are these ones that you see here. I have a 6-inch compound knife, a 14-inch knife, and a something to transport my material with. A lot of people may use this for stucco. Other people use the rectangular type of design. I find it a little troubling for me because I'm using long blades, and those knives are a little hard to get into that square thing. And this is the all-purpose material that I'm going to be using. So what happens with this one is that it dries in a way that allows me to work on it even before it's completely dry, so I can actually add the second coat as I work. Now, whereas this one that I have here is designed for small light repairs, and it's really good because it's easy to sand. But the thing is that you're not able to build up too much with this at a time. So you have to wait for the material to dry before you put more on it. So you will find those type of situations with the drywall compound, and you want to make sure. In this case, the ones with the black lead normally are the ones, or like a green lead are the ones that I will suggest to use when you're doing this type of build up on your ceilings. So let's start by mixing it up with water. What we're going to do is we're going to use the drills in a blade, to mix, and we're going to have like a half a cup of water, and just kind of mix it up really well so the material has a nice consistency, and we can apply it in a nice smooth way. So let's continue. Now that you have your ceilings fairly clean, you want to go ahead, just like I showed you a while ago, and clean the entire surface. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that's a waste of time, or you should just put primer on top of the dust or whatever. And honestly, I mean, it will take you just some time. I will say like 20 more minutes or so. But what you're doing is that you're removing all the dust that is stuck on the boards. In this case, if you're sanding the
The ceilings also, you're gonna have all the dust. Sometimes, especially in this process, people just kind of sweep that stuff, and you're gonna have a lot of dust on it too. To avoid all those issues, sometimes when like the plaster to peel off from what you're putting into the compound, you want to go ahead and clean it up with a damp sponge, or semi-moist sponge. So what I'm doing is that I have my helper just kind of rinsing those sponges, squeezing them really well, and I'm cleaning all the surface. Now again, it won't take that long, so I know that it's a little tedious, but it's worth it because now your surface is going to be nice and clean for you to start applying the drywall compound in this case. Now the drywall compound that I'm applying, I only, for the first coat, I only added to the 5 bucket of a compound like about half a cup of water, and the reason is that I want this first layer, in this case, a little harder than the second one that I'm going to add, that is going to be a little more runny. And the reason is that I'm building up on these edges. So sometimes, especially in this kind of metal structure or the supports that are holding the ceiling, you have this kind of wavy joints, and you want to kind of build up, and that's why I like to add some more drywall compound. So in this case, I'm gonna need like a 5-gallon bucket of compound total for the entire process. So it's not like you adding a ton of it. I mean, you add in 5 gallons, obviously it will dry, but that's the idea. You wanna spread all the drywall compound to the area that you're working. Don't be worried about how much you're putting on the walls. You want to make sure that you clear all the little particles and stuff like that are around you. But you want to just kind of go over and spread these things. Make sure that you cover the entire surface. Now, that's the first step. The first step is to add that drywall compound on the ceiling or on the walls, whatever you're restoring, you're refinishing. But you want to cover all the stuff, and that's why I'm not too worried about it. Then you start kind of thinning it out. You start doing the leveling of the drywall compound that you're putting. Obviously, don't put excess amount of drywall compound on the surface. You want to just kind of measure how much you're putting, and then later on you start kind of just kind of removing all the excess that you have. So it will take you, if you're using a ladder that you can have access to the ladder from both sides. This is like a 5 by 5 feet by 5 feet area, so you can cover a lot. So once you clear all that and you remove the excess drywall compound, you want to go ahead and just kind of move it. If you notice, the section that I'm covering, I mean, if your ceilings are like 14 feet, I mean, your bedrooms are like 14 feet wide by like 16 feet long, it won't take you that long to cover the entire thing. This entire skim coating can take you, the first coat can take you about an hour and a half to put maximum by yourself, and the second one maybe another hour or so. So it's not as crazy as a lot of people may think about it. The important thing over here is just kind of spread all the compound on the surface, not worrying too much about how much is it, as long as you cover all the little holes and stuff like that. Then you start kind of cleaning, just kind of bringing all that to a I would say uniform level. So that's kind of the secret of doing this thing. Now, a lot of people may use some like flat cement trowels for this. I've seen, and I hired people that were doing that stuff, and they're just masters at it. I happen to learn with this 14-inch compound knife and this kind of material transporter, that kind of square thing that I hold in my hand. I find it easier like that. I mean, I can cover a little bit more with a 14-inch knife, which is called a spatula, and you just can go and do the stuff. Now remember that this is the first coat, so just don't get too crazy on the first coat, because you're kind of just building up a little bit. But then later on you can actually add more on the second coat. Just make sure that you don't have excess amount of drywall compound that you will have to sand for the second coat. You want to make sure that that's clear, and that's the good thing about this type of drywall compound, that this, like the one that I buy with a black lid, allows me to kind of go ahead and correct. Once it is up there, I mean, you can just kind of go over it and just remove the excess, or just remove those little lines that sometimes are there. So it's really practical to work with. Now the only thing is, I mean, I'm putting 2 fingers behind the drywall compound, and that's because I like that, to be able to manage where the lines are and the pressure that I'm putting on the compound knife. And obviously it takes a toll because you're holding this thing for a few hours, and at the end of the day you're gonna end up a little sore. But that's kind of the price that you need to pay to be able to work with this drywall compound knife. You can just kind of massage that stuff, just put a little bit of cream after work, and you will be fine for the next day. So having that in consideration, you want to go ahead and let it dry for a little bit, and then apply the second coat, just in the same way but with lighter material.
Now that you saw the first coat of drywall compound that we applied, we're gonna continue with the second coat. And because this material, I applied this thing about an hour and a half ago, and now I'm able to add the second coat. The second coat will be way easier. We're gonna mix it up just a little bit more runny, so we can actually glide through this thing. And we're gonna have a little bit of veins here and there, not that many, when you just go over with your compound knives. But that's something that is expected. But because in the beginning we applied all the material and then we removed the excess, we don't have a lot of the bulky, bumpy areas everywhere. So it's easier now to apply the second coat than the first one. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and apply the second coat and let it dry. Now that the surface is nice and dry, again, I went to the extent of detailing the area, the corners and stuff like that, to avoid a lot of sanding. But you need to do a little bit of sanding as well. For that, you may want to use like a pole type of sander, or a sponge like this kind over here. They're really good. That edge helps a lot in the corners. And obviously you want to protect yourself and use a mask. You're gonna use a mask. Obviously you can cover your hair with like an old t-shirt, or like a piece of cloth or something. That would be nice, so you don't have your hair full of dirt and dust and stuff like that. And use a light fixture, so you can actually reflect light on the surface in different angles, so you can find the small details. That's a key thing that I do. Now, on the window, normally we use a fan. We're going to put a fan to blow the air out, so you don't keep all the dust kind of flying around. And where you're working, it will be a little more difficult to work like that. And overall, everything else will be covered with a mist of, like a layer of dust. But anyway, let's continue with that, and then later on we're just going to go ahead and paint it and just pretty much finish it. We got to the part of correcting our own job, meaning like we found some little details that needs to be touched up. So we're going to go ahead and do those little corrections there. We use the blue tape to kind of mark wherever we find the issues. So that's kind of the last part. Now in the corners, it's also useful if you have some lot of dips or whatever. You can use some caulk to kind of correct those things, right? So you can correct those edges and make them nice and straight. That helps a lot. If you feel like you don't need it, you don't need it. But it's good to have it handy. Also, after we did that, we actually kind of cleaned the ceilings with this broom. So we swept the ceiling with that to remove excess dust, just in case, and to find all the details. So now we're gonna we're gonna correct those little things, small little details, but they can actually be seen with the light that you see there. And after that, we're gonna let it dry and continue with the painting. Well, now after the second coat, you're gonna go ahead and make sure that you don't have like these big veins, and for that we also use the reflection of light, natural light or artificial light, and you want to step in different areas and see if you can actually see a spot, some little veins of paint, and you want to go ahead and feather those out with your roller. A lot of people may use the 18-inch roller on ceilings as well, sometimes a little heavy, or people use sprayers, whatever method you want to use. You want to make sure that your paint is even, With this, we want to leave you. Again, make sure that you correct those little lines, and also, just at least apply 2 coats of paint, because one will not be enough. We want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and if you have any comments, any suggestions, please go ahead and do it. We also love constructive criticism. If you have a video that you want to post, I will be happy to just kind of allow the people to see your videos and stuff like that. We want to collaborate over here. We want to make sure that we can all learn something. So don't forget to subscribe, hit that little notification button to see more videos. If you are interested in learning how to flip houses or apartments or things like that, this will give you some really good tips for that. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you want to see a lot more content and you want to follow my channel, please subscribe here, and why not to see this or that video. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.